welcome to another episode of Learning English with Gio. Today we will be learning something very important. One mistake to avoid while conversing. What is it? Monopolizing in conversations. Now, I will try to give you some situations to help you understand to help you understand this better, to make you understand this better. um and before that, I will tell you what does it mean to monopolize a conversation. It simply means where you are the only person who's talking, like 80 to 90% of the time you're the only person who's talking, who's initiating conversation, or who is telling stories of your life. And this is something that you really have to avoid or keep in balance, and I will explain through these examples of why you shouldn't do it and what can you do to avoid it or make the conversation better. Okay, first let's look at it in a workplace. Why shouldn't you monopolize the conversation in a workplace? Imagine you're in your workplace and you have like this group of people, and you're the only person who's coming up with strategies, inputs, ideas, raising your hand all the time, giving in, pitching in your ideas to your superiors, your bosses, to make a good impression. With your colleagues, that might be a little off-putting. They might not really like it so much, because see, everybody has ideas. Sometimes try to give the other person the chance to place their opinions, their ideas. There's some people who are very reserved, who are very timid, who are very shy. You have to ask them once or twice as to, can you give me your opinion? They will not raise their hands and keep interrupting people and speaking. So you have to understand that when you're working there, a lot of different varieties and personalities of people that you're dealing with, right? So you can't be the only person who's speaking and disregard all of those others. Maybe someone is not as confident as you are, to constantly interrupt and confidently talk. So it is good to take ideas from everybody. This will also keep you in the good books of your colleagues, because um nobody likes the people who are constantly trying to focus the light on themselves, or trying to fight for their boss's attention. So try to look even at your colleagues when you're pitching in ideas or strategizing or working on group projects, to not appear very bossy or dominating or overpowering, etc. Two, with kids. Now, this advice goes mostly to parents and grandparents. When you have kids, I've observed that we tend to think that, oh, we are the parents, so we know more than the kids. Anytime they make a mistake, you make them sit down, and 2 to 3 hours you're constantly giving advices. You're saying you shouldn't do this, in our times we did this, you shouldn't do this. Advices and advices and advices, and the kid is actually very lost, and the kid will not take that advice. Whenever you're giving advices or you're scolding somebody for the mistake they made, you want to make somebody understand something, you want to make your kids understand, the best way would be to have an interaction instead of giving a lecture that, you shouldn't do this, you should do that, you should have done that, you should have asked me, you should have done this. In our times we did this, we obeyed our parents this way, etc, etc. You go on and on and on, and the kid gets drained out. The kid cannot comprehend so much, right? Even sometimes when grandparents tend to tell their grandchildren some stories of their childhood, etc, for 2 to 3 hours, they have the tendency to go on about it. See, I have no place to make to be advising um, grandparents to change something like that. I would just say that may put in a little effort to try and include them in the conversation. Maybe take some few pauses and ask them something about their lives, or include them. Find a way to include your kids and your grandkids in your conversation, instead of seating them down for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours and lecturing them. Nobody Nobody can take advices that way and follow them. Fewer words are more effective than a million words sometimes. At least the kid is not lost what to follow. We tend to think that let's give the kid all advices in the world at once. See, no matter how much we want to do that, it is best not to do that. It is best to take time to give those advices over a period of time, and let the kid take steps one by one and have an interaction with you. Or the lesser interactions you have, the more lectures you have, the more you will start feeling distant from your child. You will not be able to have a good connect, and they will not feel free to interact with you. So please try to keep this in mind. This is for adults mostly, but everyone else can keep it in mind too. Now, with your friends, why you shouldn't monopolize the conversation. Even with friends, we know that there are different personalities. So there are people who speak very less and who are more reserved, who are more shy. We should not take advantage of such people who are listening to us carefully. It is not that they love listening so much that they find us cute or very intellectual, or something like that. It is, of course they like us, but it is also that they also want to speak, they also want to contribute. They're just maybe kind enough to let you do more of the talking. But do not disregard such people. Always ask them questions, always include them in your conversations. Do not leave them out. And just let's say I gave you the example the other day. If you're having a breakup and 2 to 3 hours you keep going on about it in every conversation of yours for the next 2 months, 3 months, the other person has a limit, right? So the other person will stop connecting with you. Actually, they might nod their head, they might make you understand, but um, try to also analyze how much of a burden you're putting on the other person by monopolizing the conversation. I'm not asking you to stop sharing your feelings. Please do not misunderstand me. All of these topics that I take up are very sensitive. I know it. So I will try my best to explain it in the right way. But make sure you include the other person. Make sure that if you're speaking um, 60 or 50 to 60%, the other person speaking at least 40 to 50%, at least if not equal, 40%. But it should never be 90s to 10 ratio. Keep this ratio in your mind, it will help you more. That how much am I speaking against how much is this person speaking, you know if the person's not speaking at all, just nodding their head and speaking 10%, something is wrong. Something is actually wrong, and that relation won't go on too far. There will be a time where this person feels a little strange, you know about not being able to express. So please be sensitive to all sorts of personalities, not just the ones who are able to speak themselves. Next, with strangers. Why with strangers you shouldn't monopolize conversation? One, it is quite impolite to do that, and the other person will have like a bad impression, would not want to speak to us too much, because it gives a sense of this narcissistic attitude that you might be having. They might think that you're a narcissist. So try to be careful and include them in the conversation everywhere and with everyone, with your parents, your peers, your colleagues, everybody. Try to make sure it's a 50-50 sort of an exchange of perspectives, opinions. Everybody has opinions, everybody has thoughts, everybody has experiences to share, right? So I know in a lot of cases there are topics that the other person knows more than us, so we let them speak. Fair enough, no problem at all in those cases. But you have to see that over a period of time, is that recurring too much? That is what you have to avoid. Okay? Don't just judge one conversation and say this person spoke more than me, or I spoke more than this person. Is it bad? No. Try to see a trend with what you're trying to do. That is all I'm saying. Let me know if you have any doubts with this. As I told you, it is a sensitive topic, and it's not very quickly that we are able to shift our personality or um, work on these errors, but we can always try, and there will be a lot of mistakes that we make along the way. Don't worry about it, as long as you're putting in a conscious effort to minimize these errors, to avoid these mistakes, and to be considerate of everyone else's feelings around you. I think it's okay. It's okay to make some mistakes. We're just humans. We're just human. So yeah, that's it for today. And for those of you who would want to join Clapping Go, I do have a referral code just like everybody else on Clapping Go does, and you keep seeing everywhere. I will just post them in my description box. You are free to take them anytime for an additional discount of, I think it's 15%. That anyway, for my one-on-one consultancy classes, you can always send me an email, and I will schedule the classes accordingly. I know that a lot of you had emailed me inquiring about the classes, and I had sent you the details. Some of you did not respond back. So make sure you tell me if you got my mails, and let me know if you have any doubts regarding that, because I'm not able to understand if you have any doubts with my timings or what the issue actually is. So yeah, let me know about that. And yeah, that's it for today. I guess I will see you in the next episode.